everyone, and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon trading card game video. What we have today is going to be a Golurk deck. I'm sure you guys have heard quite a bit about this Pokemon. It is a really nice Pokemon that can have up to 5 different types when we do use it in combination with the Ancient Origins Eeveelutions. So Golurk, to start off, has the double type ability, allowing it to be both a psychic and a fighting type Pokemon, which is actually quite nice because it does have 20 resistance to fighting type Pokemon as well. And the superpower attack, while it hits for 80 damage, we could hit for 40 more damage, so hit for up to 120 damage, and simultaneously it then inflicts 20 damage upon the Golurk itself. However, keep in mind that it's both a psychic and a fighting type, so the resistance is essentially going to cancel itself out. Now, you guys are thinking then, why the heck would they put the superpower as inflicting 20 damage upon itself? Well, the reason being is that, for example, a Pokemon like Garbodor would shut down the double typing of the Golurk, so then it would inflict 20 damage upon itself whenever we do use the superpower. Same thing goes for the Hex Maniac as well. So those are just things to keep in mind. But as long as we have that double typing going on, there is no sort of consequences for really inflicting an additional 40 more damage whenever using the superpower attack. Now, it is quite energetically expensive. So I felt like the best stadium card to go along with the Golurk was absolutely the Dimension Valley. Don't get me wrong, Fighting Stadium is an absolutely fantastic card as well, but just 4 energy cards, that's just way too much. So Dimension Valley is absolutely the way to go, just because it almost always guarantees that we'll get a Golurk going with just 2 energy attachments, as opposed to a possible 3 in case we did include some Fighting Stadium cards in our deck. Anyways, the Golurk also has the Theta Stop ability, which prevents all effects of our opponent's Pokemon's abilities done to this Pokemon. That's actually quite nice as well. I mean, a Pokemon such as Spinarak can't inflict us with those poison conditions, things like that. So Golurk is a very solid Pokemon. It's only a stage 1 Pokemon as well, so it shouldn't be too hard for us to bring it out, and it does have a pretty bulky 130 HP. So Golurk definitely is a pretty outstanding Pokemon, definitely one that I've been enjoying using, and I love taking the advantage of its multiple different types. Now, Golurk is of course going to be the main attacker of our deck. We also have a bit of an alternative attacker, but mainly the Deoxys is going to be used for some draw support, especially early on into the game. I decided to forsake Shaman EXs. I've seen a lot of different types of Golurk builds that do run the Shaman EX, but I've decided to stick with Deoxys. Now, the reason being is that Shaman EX can be a huge liability, again, whenever we do see those Lysanders, things like that, and especially since Golurk does take a few turns to get set up and going. That just increases the likelihood that one of our Shaman EXs will ultimately get Lysandered out. So I've decided to include the Deoxys. If we can start off with it and immediately make use of the close encounter attack, we don't even need any energy cards attached to it. As long as we have a Dimension Valley, we can go right ahead and draw onto 2 cards. We can actually use this attack if we go first as well, so that is definitely kind of nice. And then we also have the Overdrive Smash attack, hitting for an initial 30 damage, but then during our next turn it hits for 60 more damage, so that is 90 damage for 1 energy card. Again, keep in mind, because we will most likely have the Dimension Valley at play. So Deoxys is a really nice Pokemon. On top of that, I've also decided to include a total of 2 copies of the Lucky Helmet, so whenever our Deoxys takes any damage, we're able to draw onto 2 more cards. So Lucky Helmet definitely does seem to be making a pretty big difference in this deck. So we are running a total of 2 copies of that in our respective deck. Speaking of Dimension Valley, we are running a total of 4 copies of that. Will allow each of our Psychic type Pokemon, Psychic Pokemon's attacks to cost 1 energy card less whenever we do ultimately attack. So Dimension Valley, I definitely think, is the way to go, guys. If you guys really want to run some Fighting Stadiums, I feel like you're really sacrificing a lot of the consistency of the deck, but again, if you disagree with me, feel free to go right ahead and do that, because don't get me wrong, I absolutely wanted to include the Fighting Stadium myself as well, but it just wasn't worth it. I mean, Dimension Valley was definitely much more consistent, and we'd much rather be able to attack earlier as opposed to attack later and hit for more damage. At least that was my perspective on it, so I've decided to stick solely with 4 copies of the Dimension Valley Stadium card in our deck. I also want to bring you guys to an interesting little Pokemon tool card that I actually have not seen any other Golurk decks run. I mean, I've actually been checking out a few other Golurk decks on YouTube as well, and I'm surprised that no one's actually decided to run the Focus Sash. I mean, our Golurk is a fighting type Pokemon as well, and not only that, it's very energetically expensive. It can be very easily knocked out by those Darkness type Pokemon, such as the Yveltal EX, because we do of course have the Darkness resistance, and there's just a whole lot of Pokemon such as Night March which can easily one hit knock out those Golurks. So Focus Sash will allow that Golurk to have 10 HP remaining if it was supposed to get knocked out. So Focus Sash is actually the sole Pokemon tool card that we will hopefully be attaching to our Golurks, and we're actually not running any muscle bands or anything like that. So I've decided to stick solely with the Focus Sash, and believe me, it's been working absolutely wonderfully. I've come across a few Yveltal EX decks, and luckily for us, Golurk was ultimately able to come out on top because we had that lightning typing as well whenever I did ultimately bring out the Jolteon. And then that Focus Sash allowed that Golurk to withstand at least an attack from one of those Yveltal EXs. So Focus Sash is a pretty beautiful card to include. We will be running a total of 3 copies of it in our deck. Speaking of the Eeveelutions, guys, we're actually running one of each, and Flareon, we are making a bit of an exception. We're running a total of 2 copies of it. It has the Flare Effect ability, allows each of our Stage 1 Pokemon in play to be a Fire-type Pokemon in addition to its existing type. Reason why we've decided to run 2 Flareons as opposed to the Jolteons and the Vaporeons is just because we are seeing quite a few Grass-type Pokemons. I definitely think it's going to be one of the most dominant types when we do ultimately see that rotation. So 2 Flareons I think is definitely kind of nice. We are running 2 copies of it in our deck. We're running a total of 4 copies of the Eevee. I've decided to stick with the Ancient Origins ones, not the Furious Fist one, because we're not running any Lightning, Fire, or Water-type energy cards. So why would we want an Eevee with only 50 HP when instead we can have a slightly bulkier 60 HP Eevee? We are running a single copy of the Jolteon as well, guys. It has the Electric effect, allowing each of our Stage 1 Pokemon in play to be a Lightning type, as well as its other existing types. So Jolteon is kind of a nice Pokemon to include. And of course our very last one is the Vaporeon with the Aqua effect, allowing each of our Stage 1 Pokemon in play to be a Water type Pokemon in addition to its existing type. So if we have one of each of these Eeveelutions out in our bench, that Golurk can essentially be up to 5 different types of Pokemon, which is very, very impressive. I mean, we can take advantage of a whole lot of weaknesses, and our Golurk can hopefully get those big one-hit knockouts. So those are the entire purposes of the Eeveelutions that we are running in our deck. We are running 2 types of switch cards. Our Golurks are very, very bulky, so one of them will be the switch card, the other one will be the escape rope. We are running a single copy of the level ball. It can allow us to grab quite a few Pokemon, namely speaking that Golett and any one of our respective Eeveelutions in addition to the Eevee. So level ball was kind of nice to include. I've decided to run a single copy of that in our deck, and of course a total of 3 copies of the Ultra Ball, which will allow us to grab any of the remainder of our Pokemon out from our deck and then allow us to bring them out into play. So Ultra Ball is definitely the better ball in this case, but it does require us to give up 2 cards whenever we want to make use of it. So I thought it was kind of nice to just run a single copy of the level ball as well. We are running a single copy of the Sacred Ash because we'd like to recycle those attackers, namely speaking that Golett and the Golurk, and of course any of our Eeveelutions that allows us to take advantage of the Golurk's multiple typing. I mean, namely speaking, for example, if we're only running a single copy of the Jolteon, our opponent Lysanders it out and then gets rid of it. Well, Sacred Ash could allow us to potentially get that Jolteon back into our deck. So it's a pretty nice card. We are running a single copy of that in our deck as well. The remainder of our cards are pretty self-explanatory, guys, so I'm going to be going through them quite quickly. We are running a total of 9 draw supporter cards. One of them is the Ace Trainer supporter card. 4 of them will be the Professor Birch's Observations, and 4 of them will be the Sycamore. 3 VS Seekers just to reuse any of our supporter type cards. 2 Lysanders just to lure out any of the opponent's bench Pokemon, and a total of 12 energy cards. 4 of them will be the Fighting Energy just to increase the total damage output of that Golurk. A total of 4 Psychic Energy cards and 4 Double Colorless Energies. So with that, guys, we're actually going to go and find ourselves an opponent. Now, one thing that I do want to mention with the Golurk deck is that Hex Maniac can do a huge number on us. I mean, the thing with the Hex Maniac is that it will temporarily get rid of Golurk's multiple typing, and that could mean that we could see some Fighting Energy cards going into that discard pile, which is definitely unfortunate. I mean, there's not really a whole lot we can do about that. And I was initially thinking of running some Mystery Energies as well, but we're already running such a heavy composition of multiple special energy cards that it's just not worth running those Mystery Energies on top of that. I mean, in case we do see a lot of Enhanced Hammers and things like that, for example. So it looks like we're going to start off with the Golets. I may just have to use the Professor Sycamore. I think we're facing a Seismitoad EX deck based on our opponent typing. Okay, no, it looks like we're going to see that Manectric EX, which is kind of nice actually, because we can definitely take advantage of that fighting weakness. Of course, our opponent could be running some flash energy cards, so maybe we can't take advantage of it as much as we would like to. I think we're actually going to go and get rid of those evolutions, guys. I'd like to get rid of the the Golurk and the Jolteon. I actually want to take a look and see if we have the Sacred Ash in our deck, guys. Just do want to make sure. Hopefully it wasn't just a sacrifice in vain. Maybe it's priced. Okay, no, so luckily we do have it in our deck, so that is kind of nice. I think I'm gonna go and bring out an Eevee. I mean, we saw different types of Pokemon in our opponent's deck, so we never know that Eevee could pay off. I'm actually gonna go for the Sycamore. Just want to guarantee that we get 7 new cards in our hand. Can't attach the the strong energy card just yet because our Golett is temporarily a psychic type Pokemon. So let's go right ahead and use that Professor Sycamore to get a brand new hand. Alright, so we have another Golett. I'm gonna go and attach the double colors energy onto our active Golett. Should be able to survive an attack. And then we're gonna go right ahead and end the turn. Not exactly the greatest hand. I mean, we don't have any Pokeballs, anything like that in our hand. Normally, we would be able to start attacking during our next turn. If we had, of course, a Golurk in our hand. So maybe I should have attached the double colors energy onto one of our benched Goletts instead. So that may have been a bit of a mistake on my part, but I'm not sure. I mean, it's still too early to really decide what is going to happen. Still interested in seeing what other types of Pokemon our opponent is running in their deck, but based on the typing, I'm gonna take a guess that we're probably gonna be seeing some Seismitoad EXs as well. Our opponent may have actually disconnected. I mean, I do see his timer just decreasing, so okay, no, so we're gonna see that Manectric Spirit Link, the Professor's Letter. Again, a Golurk would have been absolutely nice to have in our hand. I mean, we could have taken advantage of its attack and knocked out the opponent's Pokemon. Alright, so we're going to see that, and that's definitely going to be helpful for us. So that Manectric EX can only hit us for a measly 20 damage, and we could potentially take the game if our opponent does not bring out any bench Pokemon. So definitely do enjoy Golurk's multiple typings. Yeah, guys, so I think we're actually going to win this game. I mean, that was just ridiculously easy, those dimension values. As I told you guys, that consistency is really, really important. So let's go right ahead and use the Ultra Ball. And alright, yeah, so we have more than enough Golurks in our deck, so we're going to be able to go on to a turn to victory. So if we had a fighting stadium, guys, we would not have been able to win the game. So just sort of illustrating the importance of those dimension values. 240 damage, that is very impressive, and that's it, guys. So turn 2 victory for us. So we're going to go and actually find ourselves an additional opponent. So that's why I really like the Golurk. I mean, it's just such a versatile and powerful deck. If our opponent, I mean, the few decks that manage to get away for the most part are those fairy type decks, because we don't have any steel type Pokemon in our deck, and those dragon type decks as well, because we don't have any fairy type Pokemon in our deck as well. I feel like those are really the main sorts of Pokemons that are able to get away from the multiple typings of that Golurk that we have. I'm assuming our opponent's probably going to start off first. Yeah, looks like that's going to be the case. Interested in seeing what our opponent is running. I'm absolutely going to start off with the Deoxys. That's going to allow us to get some cards nice and early. So and that Deoxys definitely is nice. Would have been much nicer if we could start off first. Looks like our opponent's actually going to run the Deoxys as well, and we are going to see a Beldum come out on the opponent's bench. We're going to see that Professor's Letter, allowing the opponent to draw onto 2 cards. Overdrive Smash could potentially hit us for 60 damage during our next turn. At the very least, our Deoxys will be able to withstand 1 attack. We're going to see that Lucky Helmet as well. My goodness, this is starting to look like a bit of a mirror match, but I think our opponent's main attacker is going to be the Metagross. So we're going to go ahead and attach the Lucky Helmet onto that Deoxys as well. The Dimension Valley as well. I mean, we already have 2 EVs on our bench. Do I really want to bring out another one? I mean, you know what, it could actually pay off, because that Flareon might come in handy with respects to performing those 1-hit knockouts on the opponent's Metagross. So I'm actually going to go and bring out that EV. Let's go and use that Sycamore. Awesome, looks like we're gonna get 1 Golett. No energy cards just yet, guys. I mean, we do of course have the strong energy, but I can't attach it. Could use the Ultra Ball. I mean, I don't think we're gonna need that Jolteon, to be honest, so I'm actually gonna go and use it to get rid of that Jolteon and look for 1 more Golett. So I think it's also nice to have just 2 in our bench, just in case we may get Lysandered out or anything like that. Let's go and use Close Encounter. That's going to allow us to draw onto 2 cards as well. So I mean, I don't know to what extent we're gonna be needing those dimension values, but I mean, our opponent's main Pokemon will be the Metagross, I believe. as his main attacker, because we are seeing those Beldums. So I mean that dimension value could potentially get scrapped out eventually, and our opponent could be running those metal stadium cards. I forgot the name of them off the top of my head. Looks like our opponent's just going to be able to repeatedly draw onto more and more cards. We're going to go ahead and bring out those Golets. Now those Metagrasses can definitely hit us for a whole lot of damage, because of course the more cards our opponent has in his hand, the more damage he can ultimately inflict upon us. So it's actually kind of nice that we are running those, sorry, what's it called? The Focus Sash. Okay, so I'm thinking if I'd like to make use of that Sycamore. I mean, I did just attach my energy card for the turn, so you know what, I think I'm fine for now. Let's go and use that Close Encounter, draw onto 2 more cards, and we're going to get an additional Psychic Energy card and 1 more Golett. And lots of weakness, pretty nice, and yeah, that is absolutely true. And I mean, our opponent certainly seems to know how the Golurk is going to function. I mean, we're already taking advantage of both the I mean, temporarily we're only taking advantage of both the Psychic and the Fighting weakness. We're gonna see that Pokemon Fan Club, 2 more Beldums looks like it's gonna be. So I definitely do want to start attaching those Focus Sashes onto our Golurks, because again, our opponent just has a massive hand right now. So how many cards is that? So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 10 HP short from getting those one-hit knockouts on those Golurks. And again, that Deoxys just seems to be repeatedly allowing our opponent to draw onto more and more cards. Again, I really don't want to use the Sycamore right now. I don't want to get rid of this Golurk and this Golurk. I mean, we could, but the Lysander can also pay off as well. I could actually start attacking with the Deoxys if I really wanted to. I don't know, I'm trying to think. I mean, I'd like to set up those Golurks first, and I mean, sorry. Let me just answer our opponent in just a second. You know what? I'm actually going to start attacking with the Deoxys, guys. So let's go right ahead. Use Overdrive Smash for 60 damage, and that is going to be our turn. And I'm just going to tell our opponent that it definitely works. So I have tested it a couple of times, and it's been performing quite well for the most part. We're going to see that Pokemon Fan Club. Looks like our opponent is finally going to start getting serious with respects to trying to bring out those attackers. We're going to see Kangaskhan EX as well. Definitely another Pokemon used for some draw support. In fact, it's starting to look eerily similar to Dark Integral Gaming's Metagross deck, which is definitely kind of cool. I mean, I thought it was definitely a unique type of deck. I have allowed the opponent to draw into some more cards because of that lucky helmet, but I think I may just go with the Close Encounter during our next turn. I'm hoping our opponent actually attacks us. No, it looks like he's not going to attack us. So yeah, I think going with the Close Encounter would probably be a bit of a better option. I'm going to go and attach the Strong Energy card onto our second Golurk. Let's go and temporarily use the Close Encounter. I mean, there's no way that our Deoxys can actually get one hit knocked out just yet, unless our opponent had already attacked us. Overdrive Smash only hits for 60 damage due to that weakness. We're going to see that Roller Skates. Our opponent is going to flip a tail, so that is a lot of cards in his hand. That Ace Trainer could definitely come in handy as well. It is unfortunate that we're not actually running any end cards in our hand, because of course they're not going to be part of the XY on set. So let's go and attach that Focus Sash on to that Golurk. And I'm definitely going to bring out a Flareon eventually, but for now, let's go and use that Close Encounter. Hopefully our opponent doesn't deck out. I mean, he's already drawn onto a whole ton of cards. That would be a hilarious way to win the game. Our Golurk still not even close to being able to attack. I mean, we still haven't drawn onto a single one of those double colors energies. We're going to see a Professor's Letter, so hopefully we start seeing some of those Beldums get loaded up, because I mean, again, I am quite sure that our opponent's main attacker is going to be that Metagross. So we have one Focus Sash. I'm going to hold off on this one. I mean, we could just see a Startling Megaphone or possibly the Zerosic as well. So I feel like one Focus Sash for now is more than good enough. Hopefully we can start attacking with those Golurks relatively soon, guys. As soon as I get a double colors energy, I think I do want to knock out the opponent. You know what, I may actually just go for the knockout during our next turn. I mean, I do want to put a bit of pressure on the opponent. 11 cards remaining in his deck, and he just keeps drawing more and more and more and more cards. So let's hope that it doesn't bite him in the ass afterwards. Let's go and attach a Psychic Energy card on to that Golurk, and then we're finally going to go for the knockout. Overdrive Smash, 60 damage, allowing us to draw onto one prize card. So 7 cards remaining in our opponent's deck. I mean, at this point he has to be a little bit more careful, because of course if he does make use of a card such as the N, he would just be risking himself from decking out. So we're going to see that Deoxys make its appearance. Can only hit us for 60 damage. We, however, can hit him for 180 damage because of that Overdrive Smash. We have just used it. We can use it again, and that will allow us to get that very easy knockout on the opponent's Deoxys. 3 cards remaining in his deck. What is our opponent thinking right now? I mean, my goodness, he literally has his entire deck in his hand, which is just absolutely absurd. We haven't seen any rare candies, we haven't seen any Metagrasses make their appearance just yet, so I'm not sure what our opponent is thinking, and we're finally going to see a rare candy. Metagrass finally make its appearance. Machine Gun Stomp, yes, that is going to inflict just an absurd amount of damage, guys. So it looks like that Metagrass is going to make its appearance and hit us for 290 damage. My goodness, that is a lot of cards in our opponent's hand. However, we will be able to perform the one-hit knockout on our opponent's Metagrass. All we need is that Flare, and it looks like we're actually going to draw into it, so that is kind of nice. Let's go and bring out a Golurk onto our bench. We do need an energy card on this Golurk to be able to knock out that Metagrass, so I'm going to go and attach the double colorless energy onto him. I'm going to go and use the level ball. Let's go and look for one more Flareon, guys. I mean, it could potentially get Lysandered out. Let's go right ahead and bring it out, and then we're gonna go and use Super Power. Yeah, let's hit for some more damage. That is gonna be 260 damage, and even if our opponent's Metagrass would have been able to absolutely ravage that Golurk that we do have, which of course is very much so a possibility, that's where you guys see that Focus Sash coming in handy. So I feel like this is probably gonna be our victory. I mean, our opponent does have a pretty nice deck. Again, it does look quite similar to that Dark Integral Gaming had showcased not too long ago. I believe it was actually his first video of the Ancient Origins set. Looks like we're going to see that the Deoxys make its appearance. Our opponent only has 2 cards remaining in his deck. I mean, he may have been he may have overdone it a little bit with respects to just drawing in onto all of those cards, because I don't know if he's actually running any ends or anything like that. We're going to see that Escape Rope. I guess we can go and bring out this Golurk. I mean, we should be able to attack with it during our next turn. Should be able to survive an attack, yeah, unless we did see a Metagrass. So I'll probably be attaching. Well, actually, I mean, Focus Sash will no longer be useful if the Golurk does not have maximum HP. I could definitely Lysander out that Metagrass if I wanted to. Okay, looks like it's going to be the Metagrass with the Magnetic Wrap. This is going to allow the opponent to repeatedly force us to switch in between our Pokemon if he really wanted us. That Miltank gonna hit us for quite a bit of damage, but not enough. So let's go and bring out a Golurk. I'm gonna go and attach the double colors energy onto it. I mean, Miltank can't really do a whole lot. I'm not particularly worried right now, guys, so I think I'm simply gonna go right ahead and knock out that Miltank instead. Do we actually have it? Well, it doesn't really matter because we can hit for 120 damage. I think I'm going to go and attach the second Focus Sash on to our benched Golurk. Let's go and use Super Power, hit for 120, well, sorry, 280 damage. Oh, right, I forgot we actually had the fighting typing as well, so we're definitely taking advantage of our opponent's weaknesses. I mean, otherwise we would not have been able to knock out that Metagross in a single attack. Our opponent only has a single card remaining in his deck. We're going to see that Paint Roller that's going to get rid of the Dimension Valley. We still have 2 more in our hand. If we don't see an end card, guys, we're going to be able to win the game. So let's see what our opponent decides to do. I mean, this is pretty much crunch time from this point out. We're going to see one more rare candy. So that is going to be another Metagross. I think we've actually won the game through our opponent decking out. I mean, we definitely have a massive price card advantage as well, and we had those Focus Sashes latched onto those Golurks as well. So unfortunately, things weren't looking all that great for our opponent, and looks like that is going to be it, guys. So let's just go right ahead, and I'm gonna say GG to the opponent. I mean, yeah. So you can just see how tremendously quickly he was able to go through his entire deck, and that's going to be game, guys. So I'm just gonna say TY. And yeah, so that's it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this Golurk deck, guys. If you want to see more videos, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Be sure to check out those annotations as well for my previous video and a random video as well. And that is going to be it, guys. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.